All right. Right now, we've got a CSGO weapons tier list, okay? We're going to take a look at the tier list. We're going to rank all the guns, and we're going to tell you why you're wrong, and the M4A1S is actually, who knows how good it is? You're going to have to watch the video to find out. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Vu, didn't you already make a weapons tier list? Didn't I remember seeing that on your channel several months ago? And the thing is, guys, prove it. You can't find the weapons tier list on my channel. I guarantee it. You know why? Almost spilled the beans there. No, it's because it never existed. So we'll just go down the list. AK-47. I think we're gonna stack that in the S tier until we might have to think a little bit more of it. I think it might be A tier. It's hard to say if the AK-47 is S or A tier. I think the AK-47 has to be an S+. Oh, hold on. One thing we got to do before we go any further. We turn that D into an F. Why do all these tier lists have D? Obviously, that's an F. Okay, so the AK's got to be... I think the AK is A+. We'll reevaluate a little bit later, but I think it's A+ as far as we're concerned at the moment. All right, so we're gonna have this as like A+, and we'll have this as A. All right, so we've got S, A+, A, B, C, F. Because I don't think we have enough. I don't think we've got enough tiers. So we'll give the AK an A+, because it is the rifle, but it's not. I would say the AK is perfectly balanced. I would say the AK isn't overpowered, and I would say S has to be kind of a bit overpowered. And that's why we're putting the deagle in S tier. I just want to get that one out of the way. The deagle is busto, 100% completely ridiculous busto. Okay, 2 body shots is ridiculous. Even without the 2 body shot kills, it would probably be A+ at least. But with 2 body shot kills, it's S tier. It's one of the best guns in the game. It's completely busted. It's honestly ridiculously busted. Alongside MP9. So the MP9, so here's the thing with the MP9. I want to explain this because I'm saying anything in S tier probably is a little bit overpowered and might need to be nerfed. And I 100% stand by that statement. However, listen, there are some caveats to this, okay? I don't want the MP9 to be nerfed because the CT economy is so fucked right now. I think the MP9 is one of the only things keeping the CT economy manageable and the game playable right now. If the MP9 wasn't dummy strong, it would actually be ridiculous trying to play CT side. Think how many times you see a game where there's like 2 players on an MP9. Now imagine the MP9 was like the fucking PP Bison or something. It would be unplayable. It would be unplayable. Okay? So the MP9, while overpowered, probably doesn't need a nerf, at least until they fix the econ. The main reason I actually disliked my last tier, the tier list that never happened, but that in theory, in my imagination did happen, is I think I ranked the AUG like C or D, something like that. I think I ranked it pretty low. And the AUG is actually very viable, and there's a very much solid uses for the AUG. I'd say the AUG is like B or A. It's hard to say. It's hard to say because you have to kind of rank it like relative to a lot of other guns. I think we need another tier. We need a D tier. Yeah, I think that's what we're missing because it's not 2 tiers outside of F. It's not like B, C, F. It's not that close to F, but it's not the best gun ever. Okay. The AUG is a solid gun. Definitely usable situationally in a good number of situations. So I think it's a solid B. The AWP. Ooh, the AWP's tough, man. The AWP's tough, man. Because the AWP could be A+ or S. Because I'm not sure if the AWP is overpowered. Like, I don't know if the AWP needs a nerf. That's the question. Does the AWP need a nerf? In which case, it's an S tier. Otherwise, it's an A+ tier. I think we're going to put it in A+ tier. It's obviously really strong. And a lot of the best players in the world use the AWP. I don't think it needs a nerf, though. I think the AWP in the right hands can seem ridiculously strong, and I think, based on the fact that you have 4 of 5 players per team typically are riflers, or at least mainly riflers, but like 3 of the top 5, maybe even 4 of the top 5 this year are probably going to be AWPers. Like last year, top 3, simple as I would advise, 3 AWPers, right there. Top 3 in the world are all AWPers. And AWPers should show up as about should show up as 1/5 of HLTV's top 20, but as I believe the op shows up a lot more than 1/5 of HLTV's top 20. That being said, it is a little bit unfair because HLTV's stats do favor oppers a lot because your KD factors in significantly into your rating. Your rating, like at least rating 1.0 was like mostly KD and then some other stats. I think rating 2.0 is still mostly KD and then a couple of other stats. So it does favor oppers, their rating list. But still, the best players in the world all having an op, it suggests it might be a bit too strong, but I don't think so. Next up, we got the CZ. I think the CZ we got to put in C. Maybe it's a B. Here's the thing. I don't think the CZ is quite as good as the AUG, so I'm feeling like it's a C. However, I don't feel like it's a C. I feel like it's a pretty solid gun. I would put this in B-, but I'm going to put it in C. The reason I'll put it in C is it's definitely usable. It's not a weak gun at all, but it's situational. It's like highly situational. You can use it on the T side, but you probably don't. And the AUG, you would probably use on the T side, but you can't, which is like different, right? So you don't really want it on T side. Then CT side, the 5.7 does have some use over the CZ. I think there's a little bit of back and forth, different players using different ones. So we're going to put it in a C. We'll put the dualies in a B. I think we put the dualies. Oh, shit. I'm going to put the dualies in a B. And the reason I'm going to put the dualies in a B, because for what you want it for, the dualies are really, really strong. So basically for pistol rounds, the dualies. Maybe I got to put them in a C. It's tough to say. The dualies are really, really strong on pistol round, and you can buy it on both sides on pistol round, and people are understanding recently that the dualies are very viable on pistol rounds, and a lot of people are buying them recently. It's like becoming, and there are certain spots where the dualies are kind of busted on pistol round, like Hut on Nuke, for example. The dualies are a little bit busto for CT Hut on Nuke. Like you just mow them down. I mean, Squeaky if you can get to the right spot. If you go connector on overpass, but I mean that's not very common. Like stuff like and they're really, really good for solo plays if you're playing like matchmaking or face it, where you can go dually smoke and do something like solo B on Dust 2, smoke off tunnels, play on the other side of the smoke. You get at least 2 if they come B, and you've got a pretty good spot. Same thing you can do it at like Banana on Inferno, works pretty well. A lot of different stuff like that. Famas, we're going D. I think the Famas is a clear D tier. It's a gun, like pricing wise is quite strong. Not even quite strong. Pricing wise is viable, but the problem is you just have better options. Like the MP9 is almost always a better option over the Famas. Occasionally you could go for the Famas, but that's only in situations. Basically, you go for the Famas in situations where you can't use the MP9. It's not like, oh, well, the Famas would be better in this situation. It's more like, is the MP9 usable in this situation? If yes, MP9. If no, Famas. The Famas is just statistically, just as far as the stats go, it's a bad gun, because one of the reasons that the SG was overpowered is that you could shoot about 16 or 17 bullets before it stopped out of its initial spread pattern. So the initial spread pattern was down and to the left, 16 bullets, and then you started moving vertically, or horizontally rather. The Famas is the exact opposite. The Famas is the anti-Krieg, in that the Famas is about 4 or 5 fucking bullets before it starts moving horizontal in its spread, which is awful. That is ridiculously bad. It is so bad. It is just so bad. And I wouldn't say the Famas is trash, okay? I would say the Famas is recycling, because trash you get rid of. Recycling, you're stuck with it. We'll put the 5.7 in D tier. I think it's clearly worse than the CZ, although it does have its uses. CT side auto sniper, I think is actually, I'd say it's like D plus, almost like C minus maybe. I think the CT side auto sniper is actually viable in certain scenarios. It's just people think it's mad overpowered. The thing is, the auto sniper is always going to seem super overpowered when you're a noob, basically, when you're a noob. If your opponents can't shoot you back in the head really quickly, the auto sniper will seem busto. However, if you play players that are capable of just like insta fucking you in the face as soon as you miss a shot, or you hit a shot in their body, but you miss a shot with an AWP, then the auto sniper doesn't seem nearly as good. But it is still viable in certain scenarios. Galil, we're going to put the Galil in C tier. No, we'll put it in B tier. The reason we're going to put it in B tier, I think it's more or less a C tier gun. However, it's only 1700 and it's clearly better than the Famas. The Galil is just significantly better than the Famas. And it's 1700. I think the Galil contributes fairly heavily to how oppressive the T-side economy is right now because of how easy it is to afford a rifle and utility. Like the Galil 1700, you can afford a full buy off of 3800. You can afford a full buy with Molly, smoke, flash, nade. Oh, 1800, sorry. I thought it was 1700, my bad. So you can afford it for 3900 then. You can afford a full fucking T-side buy on 3900. I think we have to put it in B tier just for the price and how oppressive it's. I think it's adding a lot to how oppressive the T-side economy is. Glock F, M249 F. We'll just get some of these out of the way. MP5 F, Nova F, P2000 F, PP Bison F, Sawed Off F, Nova garbage, P2000. Use the USP, bro. What is wrong with you? Why are you using the P2000? It's 2022. Wait, what year is it? It's 2021. Why would you use the USP or the P2000? Use the USP. Bison, obviously, these are all shit. Actually, I'd say the Bison might arguably be D. I think the Bison is more viable than people give it credit for because it did get buffed pretty notably. It's just compared to the MAC-10 and the MP9, why would you ever want to buy a Bison? I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. M4A1S. So as many people know, recently I've had a bet where I said, basically I lost a bet and I had to use the M4A1S for a month. And we're maybe a week into, we're like a week into the month of using this gun. And honestly, my opinion has changed. Last time around, I put it in the D tier. And my opinion has definitely changed a little bit having used the M4A1S for a little while now. I'm not sure D tier is quite right. Yeah, fuck that, it's F tier. This is fucking complete trash. Why would you ever fucking use the shit gun, dude? Why would you ever use the fucking A1S, dude? My opinion has changed in that it's not D tier anymore, it's F tier. This gun is unfucking usable. This gun is unbelievable bad. M4A1S, we'll put the A1S, or A4, we'll put the M4A4 at maybe A tier. I think we moved the AUG up. I think the AUG and the M4A1S are A tier. I think we moved them both up and we put them in the A tier. The M4, I mean, it's a solid gun. It's not the AK, but it's not bad. It's clear. It's obviously not bad. MAC-10, we'll put it in the S tier. MAC-10's obviously S tier. It's worse than the MP9, but it's still obviously really strong for what it does. There's not much reason to buy almost any other SMG other than the MAC-10. So just go for the MAC-10, man. Just go for the MAC-10. There's like very little reason to buy something other than the MAC-10 if it comes to SMGs on T side. I mean, if you have more to buy something more, like if you have 1500 for an MP5, why not just buy a Galil for 1800, right? Like, why not just go for the Galil? AUG is shittier than the M4. I agree. It's more situational than the M4, but in the situations that the AUG is usable, the AUG is better than the M4, if you get what I'm saying, right? So I feel like that can up it in a rank a little bit. We'll put the Mag 7 at D. I think the Mag 7's a solid D. It's usable for like very specific things. It's not very good. Then the MP7, we're putting the MP7 at C. I think we'll put it here. The MP7 is viable. I say the MP7, in my opinion, is the only SMG other than the MAC-10 or MP9, depending on which side you're on, that you should be buying because it has good range. It has a controllable spread pattern and it does good damage. People that still buy the UMP are fucking idiots. This shit is D or F. It might even be F tier. The UMP is shit. There's one spot on one map that I think the UMP is viable. One spot on one map. Tetris on Nuke. Because the UMP is actually pretty good in terms of close distance headshot damage. Very close distance headshot damage, the UMP does well. So something like Tetris on Nuke could be okay. But almost 100% of the time, if you want to fight close range, get a fucking MP9. Why are you buying an UMP to fight close range? It's ridiculous. Why would you... If you want to fight close range, use the MP9. If you want to fight long range, use the MP7. UMP easy range SMG. Okay, let me tell you something here, okay? Let me tell you something here. Baz CS. Let me explain something very, very simple to you here, buddy. okay? The UMP is dog shit at range. I want you to know, the UMP is dog shit at range. It is unbelievably terrible at range, and the sheer fact people think that the UMP is good at range because they're living in the past and or they're dumb. That's the other option. You either haven't looked at the stats and thought about it, aka you're dumb, or you haven't played since like 2017 and nobody told you that it's been nerfed and you haven't used it enough to realize it's been nerfed, because the gun is shit. It's actually terrible at range. It does less damage and is less accurate than the MP7. The Tetris on Nuke is the boxes right outside of Hut. So I'd say there's one spot on one map where this is usable, but other than that, I think it's pretty shit. Negev, we'll put this... I think we got to make some adjustments. We're making an adjustment or two. We're going to put the CZ on B tier because I think the Negev is clearly worse than the CZ, but it's also, I think, deserves to be in the C tier. I think there's enough of a gap between the Negev and the CZ that they shouldn't be in the same tier. Negev, it's viable, it's usable, it's not great. It's not great. It's not amazing. You can mind game people with it. The Negev is nice because against people that don't know how to play against the Negev and aren't super coordinated, you can actually just mind game the fuck out of people and actually get completely in their heads, and it's really, really fun to use. Competitively, it's like an F tier. Competitively, it's not really viable. Maybe it's viable in like the D tier in very situational spots. However, I think just because it's hella fucking fun to use, C tier. P250, I put this in the A tier. The P250 is the most slept on gun in CS. Straight up. The most slept on gun in CS. The reason it's so slept on is because the deagle is busted. The CZ was once busted. The Tech 9 was kind of fucking busted for a long time. The P250 is a gun that, if it was added to the game today, it would be kind of, people would probably use it more and people would probably complain about it. It is very strong. People just don't give it the credit because it's not in your face in how strong it is, the way the CZ was when it was overpowered, the way the deagle is currently, the way the Tech 9 was. It's not in your face overpowered, but it's ridiculously strong. It's $300, dude. For the price, the P250 is stupidly good. P90D, it's usable occasionally. It's not a good gun. Don't buy the P90, but it's D tier. SG, F tier. Like, really, guys? You seriously, guys, stop the clock. You're seriously buying an SG. Bro, you could shoot a fucking scout faster than you can shoot that gun. I can literally click a Tech 9 faster than you can shoot the fucking SG. Buy a scout, bro. Why are you buying a fucking Krieg? Get out of here. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. Revolver, F, obviously. The Revolver's fucking shit. It's complete garbage. The Revolver is just, especially because the deagle exists. Because the deagle exists, you should definitely you shouldn't even have this shit equipped. This is the bottom of F tier. You literally shouldn't even have this equipped. The SG is even worse because when your teammates pick it up, if you buy it, if you are to make the dumb mistake of buying the SG, when your teammates pick it up, they're not going to be able to shoot it. They may as well be using a deagle. They will probably do better with the deagle than the SG because they won't play a deagle like they can actually kill someone with it. They'll play a deagle like a deagle. They'll play an SG like an AK and then die. Scout, B tier. I think the Scout's got to be B tier. The Scout is almost like the CZ, where it's pretty situational in when you use it and when you buy it. However, on the situations you do get it, it is very, very strong. Second round forces, the Scout is kind of fucking busted. The problem is outside of second round forces, the Scout is kind of it's kind of weak. You could make an argument for A tier. I could definitely see an argument for A tier. I think I'll put it in B because I don't see it being much better than the Galil, like too much better. And you don't want to buy like 5 of them, right? You want to buy like 1 or 2 maybe. Like, yeah, 1 or 2 maybe. And on T side, you probably only want 1. So I can't really put it above the Galil, I think. Tech 9, we're actually going to put this at the top of the C tier. Tech 9 is actually kind of busted in specific scenarios. If you have... This is not very common anymore, but it's the type of gun that you can use for like a second round force. This used to be somewhat not somewhat common. It used to be something certain teams did. For example, Kaboom, aka SK, did this at a time where they would get a bomb plant on pistol round, and then they would full force second round with pistols and full utility, and then they would go for something like a full exec on B on Inferno, or something like that on second round when their opponents were on a lot of M4s, because M4s were much more like M4 Famas, when the Famas was more expensive and very low utility. And teams hadn't yet figured out how to deal with pistols, where you have to actually play kind of aggressive because you don't want to give them the opportunity to do that type of thing where they just execute on you. So I put this in C. You know, you probably would rather have a deagle, but for something like an exec where you can't afford a Mac 10 and you need the utility, you get a Tech 9. This thing is running fully accurate while running. You can just run across, like you can Ferrari peek someone from across the map and tap them for 80 plus damage. It's really ridiculous, honestly. USP, we'll put it in the D tier, I guess. I mean, we're putting it in the F tier. It's a shitty pistol. It's a starting pistol. It's better than the Glock, you know, but it's a starting pistol. Why am I using a starting pistol on a real gun round? Auto shotty, C. We're putting the auto shotty in the C. Auto shotty's actually really ridiculously strong. Actually, we're gonna put it, I kind of want to put it in the B. I'm considering processing, contemplating. Yeah, it's a B tier. It's the B tier. The auto shotty's it's kind of busted. It's like the range at which you can one shotgun someone is actually unbelievable with the auto shotgun. And something a lot of people don't know is shotgun spread is no longer random. Shotguns will have the same spread every time you shoot it. So you can actually find the exact spot, which is like, I think it's slightly to the left of someone, where you will hit them with like all 5 pellets from across the fucking universe. You can fucking rail people from rage-inducingly long range with that fucking gun. And for that reason, I have to put it, it's like, competitively, is it super viable? The problem is, like, at high levels of competition, rotations are very important, right? And that's why the Negev is like pretty, because they're just going to avoid it. They're just going to go the other direction. Same thing with shotguns. And the thing is, I want to explain this. This is actually something I've talked about before. Since the tier list is basically over here, I put all the guns down. Something I've talked about before is that, but probably you guys haven't seen it. Shotguns in general are, in my opinion, bad for the game if they're actually really strong. The reason they're bad for the game is because they're kind of anti-fun. When you go banana on Inferno and you have someone half wall with a Mag 7 that just jump shotguns you when you're logs and you just jump one shotguns you, there's not really any counterplay to that. You just kind of get jiggled and one-shotted from the range that they can one-shot you from, and they one-shot you without using really much skill. They just have to shoot you in the body. And then if you're outside of that range, there's no real playability. They just shoot and pray to God that they get a really lucky couple of shots off, or you whiff. That's kind of, in my opinion, that's anti-fun. There's no playability. You're either dying to them and you have almost no chance, or they're dying to you and they have almost no chance. And so when you die to a shotgun, it really feels like you didn't really have much you could have done, and it just fucking sucks. And so if the shotguns were strong enough that they would be viable in professional play, which would mean they would have to be overpowered, because they're just not going to be good rotationally, which is incredibly important. And when you have good utility usage, you can do things like molly and nade shotguns out and put them in uncomfortable situations where, you know, they're going to need some range that they don't have, right? So if they were good enough to be viable in professional play, they would be unbelievably annoying and just unfun to play against in your average game. And so I think the auto shotgun is about as strong as a shotgun can get without just being completely busted and just breaking the game and just being no fun at all. I would put the Zeus, if we're going to say Zeus, I would put the Zeus at the B tier. I think the Zeus has some use. It's not a terrible gun. It's just not that great, and it's pretty situational. That's where we're going to go with. There you go. That was my tier list for weapons. That was the tier list for weapons. the video that you definitely haven't seen before, because you can't prove that this was ever uploaded to my main channel and didn't perform well and then I deleted it. You can't prove that ever happened. So anyways, subscribe to the channel, hit that sub button, turn that red button gray, and if you don't like the content, you can always unsub. Catch you next time.